Hello and welcome to Fantastic Dimensions. This is our second Stalker RPG session. This is going to be a bit of a kind of a ongoing campaign around Zone France with a different cast of characters coming and going as they wish from session to session. So I will go straight into character introductions. I'll start with you, Whitey, since you are reprising your role from the last game.
Hi everyone, Ian White here. I'll be playing Gandalf. He's an aging fellow, native of Toulouse. He's got long grey hair, long grey beard. He has a long trench coat, and he walks around with a staff to help him move. He's on a personal quest in the zone to try and locate his wife, or at least find some clues on how to be with her again. He's just recently completed. He survived, shall we say? He didn't complete the mission. He survived, and he got back, and he's suffered a bit of emotional trauma out there. Lost a potential good friend, and he's not on the best of emotional stability at the moment, and that's Gandalf.
Excellent. Well, technically speaking, I mean, he was hired to guide Red Star to that particular location in the zone, so he completed his mission. Technically speaking. And he even received some form of payment for it as well, so. Okay, Andrew, I'm going to let you go next.
Hey guys, Andrew Knapp here, aka SR2 Joker. Let me paint a little bit of a scene for you. You have a broken table, 2 lit cigarettes sitting in an ashtray, the smoke slowly plumes up. Next to it, an open cabinet full of black suits, hanging in a line. 7, 8, 9 of them, it's the only clothing you can see. Slowly panning around, you see a man standing tall, muscular build in front of a mirror. He's wearing one of these suits. In his hand is a fine black comb. It comes down and he slowly parts his hair back. He looks in the mirror. Damn, I look good. That's Alan Stone, a businessman, a purveyor of illegal goods, a stalker, and one badass dude. On the table, sitting next to a whiskey bottle and an empty tumbler, you see a Western Burr 9mm gun. Where the Western Burr logo would be located, it's been etched out with a file, crossed. He slowly walks over, he picks it up. He straightens, makes sure his tie looked good, unbuttons the top 2 buttons, and then pulls the gun up and slowly lowers it down. It's time to go back into the zone.
Excellent. Okay, Chepe.
Hello, I'm Chepe. I'm playing Switch. This guy from England who used to be an electrician and a bureaucrat for the Institute before he got shafted. And now he's becoming a stalker, building settlements in the borderlands just to spite everyone and everything, including his own situation.
Excellent. And Josh, introduce your new character for us.
So all of a sudden you see burst forth out of a storm cellar underneath one of the houses in the borderlands a gentleman clad in military fatigues, his face completely covered by a balaclava with only a small hole near the mouth, wearing a pair of goggles. Gas mask sort of loosely hung around the lower part of his neck. He eyes the street, sees the building that he's looking for and darts across, slips inside. It's a bar. One of his local hangouts, commonly known as the Tunnel Rat. He walks over to the bartender, looks around, sees the other gentleman drinking, taps on the bar, points at what one of the other gentlemen sitting there is drinking, seeing that it's of a brown color, hoping that it's whiskey, and points to it, takes his drink and snatches a straw from behind the bar and goes and sits in a dark corner. pulls out his cell phone, thumbs through a few things, and then slips it back in his pocket before sliding the straw into the small hole in his balaclava to drink what is unfortunately rum. And this is Switch, who has lost the use of his speech, so to speak, capable of still making noises when necessary, in an unfortunate parkour accident that mostly destroyed the usage of his jaw, ever since a stint that he spent in the zone for several months after having to run from an Institute attack. He has come back and refused to show his face. And he now sits in the darkened corner.
Okay. To to expedite things, I'm going to say that wiretap, Switch, and the closer. Well, yeah. You've all been reached out to by a contact. Someone's looking to hire a stalker team to investigate something for them in the zone. And so the three of you gathered in this this establishment, this kind of, seedy Borderlands bar, cafe, if you will. And there is a gentleman there who stands out like a sore thumb. He's even more so than the closer himself. This guy is wearing a crisp suit, tie. It looks new. He's got a briefcase sitting beside him. He's sitting at a table in the middle of the bar with a big space around him. Everybody's kind of giving this guy room because he stands out so much. Like, nobody wants to get close to him, afraid maybe the clean might wash off. And he's sipping from a cracked teacup and just staring straight ahead of himself. You know this guy, you were told that the contact would stand out. Nobody stands out more than this gentleman.
Seems like a terrible, terrible place and a terrible, terrible person to receive a job from. Sticking out like this in the Borderlands, probably get yourself shot. Switch will walk up, he'll bury himself in the midst of his hoodie. He'll put the hoodie a little bit closer over his head. He'll walk along the side, he'll walk around, he won't walk directly to him. If he can, he'll try to walk behind him, come up close, probably thinking about the wiring in the walls, because he probably did this, like the little direct pseudo current that filters that one fucking light bulb at the top of the ceiling, one measly ass thing to give them a bit of light in the middle of this hellhole of a bar. Probably creaking like a motherfucker each and every single step. Not really sneaking, but pretending to. He'll crawl up behind him and probably tap him on the shoulder.
Yeah, as you're walking up behind him, you know something that you will notice about him. You can see that the jacket of his suit is bulging in certain telling areas on each side of his torso. The guy is quite obviously armed himself. Either he's compensating for something, or he just likes really big handguns. But yeah, he's got a couple of large ones there under his coat. You still want to walk up and tap him on the shoulder?
I'll probably say something directly to him before tapping him on the shoulder.
Okay.
Aren't you packing a bit much to be here?
I was under the impression that this is the kind of place where one should be packing a bit much. No? He takes a sip from the teacup.
No, it's going to be a few miles down that direction, pointing toward more into the zone. Coming into my town, then you need to at least show a little bit of respect.
I see. Well, I certainly didn't want to find myself accosted by any of the locals. And he doesn't turn to look at you. He just continues to stare straight ahead as he's sipping his tea.
Don't you have a lovely attitude, then?
Well, are you here for the job? or to hear the
course.
proposal.
No one else is coming up to you.
Hmm. I was hoping to get a few more, but why don't you have a seat?
Sure, I go
He
wait.
gestures at one of the seats at the table.
Take a seat, though he won't take his hands out of his pocket and the pockets of his hoodie. And the hoodie itself, which is weird because he has an English accent, he has Harvard, but it's reflected backwards as if it was either a misprint or something happened to the hoodie. And he slumps down, basically like a snake, into his chair, just hearing a clunk, and then probably hearing the back fat of his butt, of his ass going in between the wood of the sheet. Shh. Slate shimmer. Probably also like a snake, maybe even kind of a slithering noise.
And he looks kind of at you now. He finally turns his head a little bit to glance your direction. He's wearing shades himself, like really dark sunglasses. You can't really see the eyes behind them. But he looks over at you and says, not exactly what I expected. I thought a stalker would look a bit more hardened.
I could show you my scars if you want.
I don't think that'll be necessary. Do you think anyone else will be turning up?
And hearing him say that, Wiretap will regrettably down the rest of his drink through the straw. He'll walk over, turn the chair around backwards, and sit down and set his cell phone down on the table. Anyone who looks at it would see that he has the text application open, and he's typed in the words, "Hello, Wiretap. Nice to meet you."
And he looks at you and he says, well, how very quaint. Has the cat got your tongue, Wiretap?
He picks up the phone and types for a second and sets it back down in a manner of speaking.
He doesn't speak much. Never has.
Oh, yes. You know each other. I suppose all stalkers in the zone probably know at least of each other, yes?
Trust me, he's pretty easy to remember.
Wiretap will just kind of turn and give him a look, like, body posture indicating, like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
I believe there's another stalker operating in the area, one that I was hoping might join us this evening. Have you heard of the Closer?
So just when he says that, down on the other side of the bar, the Closer's been sitting there. He looks, once again, pristine, huge Atlantean shoulders, dwarfing everybody else sitting up in this actual line. He goes to the barkeep and he points at this other man in the black suit down the other end, and he takes out some money and slides it across, and he goes, "This is on me. When you give him the bill saying it's been paid, give him this." And I flick out this pearly white card that has this embossed mark on the back of it of 2 crossed pistols and a name over it that just says The Closer.
And the barkeep says, "Hey, Closer, listen, just be careful with that one. He looks like he's all alone over there, but he had a whole team with him earlier. They look dangerous too, like soldiers, but not in uniform, if you know what I mean."
I really appreciate that. And once again, you see a leather glove slip out with another bill, giving it to the keep.
Nice. Okay. And are you going to stay in the bar then, for him to bring this over, or do you want to exit or kind of take a vantage point, or?
What I do is, once I give him that, I turn around, I unbutton my suit, and let the holsters underneath both of my armpits kind of hang out, showing that I'm armed to the teeth. And I'm going to lean back and just look out over the bar area so he can get a good look at me.
Yeah, so the barkeep takes it over. Barkeep approaches the table you guys are sitting at, and he sets down the like receipt, the tab thing, to say, "Yeah, Here you go, sir. Your tab's been taken care of. Gentleman left this for you, and he puts the card down. And he picks up the card, and he looks at it, and he kind of chuckles. And he turns, and he kind of glances over his right shoulder, and he sees you standing there at the bar looking out over at him.
I'll just raise my hand like this, gesturing that we see each other and waiting maybe for some kind of sign to approach.
He smiles, and he says, won't you come and sit with us, Alan?
I get up and straighten my jacket. Be a pleasure, sir. So I'll walk down the bar, and as I get close to him, I say, I've learned 2 things in life working in the firearms industry. Never kick a sleeping dog where he lies, and never walk up on a man packing American heat. And my 2 fingers point at the bulges in his suit.
And he actually kind of releases his, he relaxes his jacket a little bit, and he actually pulls out one of the pistols, the one under the left arm. He pulls out his right hand, and he just sets it on the table, and he slides it over for you to have a look at it. It's a Weston Burr special.
So I'll pick it up and give it a once over, turning it, letting the image kind of dance in the bad bar light.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get to the
tell
image,
by the weight of it when you pick it up, it's loaded too.
Oh, it is loaded.
Mm-hmm. Safety's on though.
So as I'm turning it over, I see the Western Burr logo, and you can see for one moment my face grimaces, like my nose crunches up ever so slightly. And I turn it back, holding it by the barrel, and hand it to him and say, "It's a nice piece you got there."
I thought you might appreciate it. He slips it back into the holster, his shoulder holster. Says, "Don't worry, I'm not working for the corporation. Quite the opposite, in fact. They are what we would call economic rivals of ours. But they do make a fine, fine pistol."
I smile and I turn a chair around and sit on it, so I'm kind of like leaning on the back of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, "Yeah, when you're in my line of business, killing's bad until you have the money."
Well, I'm glad you turned up. 3 of you, that should suffice. There'll be another, but we'll have to pick him up in the zone. A professional guide, as it were. Perhaps you've heard of this man, and he slides a picture over. He opens up the briefcase beside him on the floor, and he takes the picture out, and he slides across the table to you guys. And you see, let me see if I can, I got to turn my camera on, don't I have to screen share? I think I do.
Nope.
Oh, I don't? Oh, well, I did anyway. So let me just see. Is it screen sharing? Can you all see that?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, no.
Okay, it did not fucking work. Oh no, let's try again. Typical. I didn't hit the right button. There we go. So he slides this picture across to you.
Seeing the picture, Wiretap will sort of, move as if a little surprised, and then put one hand forward as to stop and mime the clapping of a staff on the ground.
He says, "This gentleman goes by the name of Gandalf. You've probably all heard of him?" Yes.
More or less, probably everyone has.
My associates tell me that he's one of the best known guides in the French zone. The place we will go into lies in the Western Hills, and I think his services would be invaluable. He pulls the briefcase out, and he actually picks it up now, and he puts it on the table, and kind of opens it up, and he pulls out an envelope, and he tosses it down on the table. It's not sealed. It's it's one of those big vanilla kind of envelopes. And he says there's a large oasis in the western hills. And the intelligence that I have been given says that there's a rather sizable and thriving colony that has built up in the area around the oasis and within the oasis. And if is anybody actually going to take the envelope and start flipping through anything, or
Wiretap will.
wiretap will? Yeah. So you see
No,
photographs that sure enough look like they are taken within the zone, and you can see like lots of mutants. Some more mutated than others. Some don't look mutated at all. But you can definitely tell by the look these are people that are, living rather rough.
Now, Ian, when I'm looking at those pictures, it kind of brings a question to my mind. Looking at Gandalf's, does he look like he has some kind of mutation, or would I have heard something like that about him?
Gandalf?
Yeah.
No, Gandalf's not mutated. Gandalf, he's a pretty well-known stalker in the zone. He actually lived. He was within the zone during the visitation, and he got away. He was one of the refugees who got out of there. One of the 50,000 out of 250,000 who were in the zone at the time of the visitation. There's not a whole lot known about what happened to him after that stage. Just that he was a survivor from the zone, and that eventually he went back to the zone. And he's been living within the zone and not really coming out of it for the last decade, it seems.
Okay. So
he works with a lot of other stalkers too that kind of help him out with trade, because since he doesn't leave the zone himself, he has to kind of trade with other stalkers in order to get rid of any swag or anything of that sort, and to get supplies and stuff. The big thing that he likes, that he trades for, is like foodstuffs and drinking water.
Oh, it's like survival stuff, basically.
Yeah, well, the zone is not known for providing lots of safe drinking water.
Okay, good to know.
As we found out in that game you ran for us, Chepe. But I digress. So you see anyway these pictures of mutants and some not so mutant looking, but a lot of people in this area. You can see kind of the background and stuff. You see like these burnt out hills and things of that sort. It's a pretty wasteland looking area. And there's one person who shows up in a lot of the pictures where it looks like the person who took the photos was specifically zooming in on this guy. He's a very tall man. He's wearing what looks like a really old and dirty duster, kind of like you'd see in the Western films. He's bald, completely bald. In fact, he looks like he has no eyebrows, no facial hair. He has no hair on his head whatsoever. And he's seen in different kind of poses throughout the photos, but like you notice, like he's got crowds gathered around him. Sometimes it looks like he's addressing them or preaching or something along those lines. And he says, this man is being called the Prophet. And our intelligence reports that he seems to be the leader of this colony, and that perhaps he is manipulating or taking advantage of the poor people living within. He set himself up as some sort of a messiah. I have a small team that we would like to hire you and this Gandalf fellow to take us to the colony so we can conduct further investigation.
Why is this of interest to you? Never heard of a gunsmith actually having any kind of interest in cults.
No, personally, I don't really give a shit. But I have many very wealthy powerful clients. And it is of interest to one of them, and I am being paid to extract some information.
What do we know already about this prophet? Prophets generally bring messages. What's this guy peddling?
Oh, the usual bullshit. Deliverance from the wickedness of the world, a better life in a paradise beyond. Mostly false hope.
This whole thing smells shittier than the dumping ditch outside of the bar on the edge of the colony. What I need to know, and he licks his lips a bit, like he's about to chew on his tongue and he's trying to resist the urge to.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something he has? Is it some kind of anomalous thing? So why the fuck would you pay so much money just to see it? Just to see it profit? Is one of your clients a convert?
No, I don't believe so. My clients have a lot of interest in the going-ons within the zone. And this is a rather interesting phenomena if this gentleman has indeed raised himself up to be some kind of a mutant prophet. You know yourself the way these tribes and colonies work within the zone. Organization and strength in numbers aren't things that usually crop up in such cases. However, we have information that this colony is hundreds strong. We also have unconfirmed reports that the prophet displays unusual abilities and aptitudes. Some believe him to be an alien left behind after the visitation. I think this is probably utter hogwash, but this is one of the things that I need to investigate. They say he can heal the sick. They say he can perform superhuman feats. None of this has been corroborated as of yet.
Stone kind of stretches himself out. Works the kink out of the back of his neck. Well, last thing I want is another organized group of people standing between me and zone technology. The idea of this dude controlling all these mutants sounds like it's going to make the job of a stalker a hell of a lot harder. So anything that destabilizes that, I want to be a part of.
Excellent.
With
Glad to
that,
have you aboard.
Wiretap will point it at the closer and then look back at the suited man and just give a thumbs up.
He looks over at Switch, but he doesn't call him Switch. He says, "So, what about you, Harvard?"
He reaches something out of his hoodie. Takes a knife and he sticks his hand down on the table and he just goes very rapidly through every single finger and then he just sticks it down in front of him again. Switch. And the money's good and he has a point. This whole thing sounds like a load of bollocks, but might as well.
So there's three of you, and hopefully we'll pick up Gandalf along the way. I have $10,000 to pay your team, so you can split it between you.
Couldn't possibly put it in pounds, could you?
Well, I believe there are places for such things.
Colonies. And he's smirking at himself at his joke.
You do. There are places for such things. I believe you can find an exchange in Toulouse proper if you're so lucky to venture there. You will receive the full payment on delivery to the colony.
Stone puts his hand down on the table. Now, while we're working for you, you're our employer, my only employer.
Hmm.
What is your policy on salvage rights within the zone? If I find objects, can I take those? Are those mine or they belong to you? I want to clear this up ahead of time.
Oh, I'm not interested in random artifacts that we find along the way. That's not my mission. I believe those are what we would call, in a case like this, Stalker's prerogative.
Well, then I have to say I find this agreement very, very, very lucrative.
How much time will you need to make the proper arrangements? My men will be ready to go, or we could go this evening if you wish, but it's your call. I know that getting in and out of the zone can be tricky at best.
Well, I am prepared to leave immediately, but I can't speak for my two coworkers, and I'll shoot them each a glance.
Honestly, think I would arrive at a job without being prepared to leave immediately. He is leaning back in his chair and he points over to a corner. And there's a large green damp backpack, like one that's like half a person high and it's full of stuff, and you have no idea what it is, but it's just like leaning there in the corner, and you can tell that he's been looking at it in the corner of his eye for the whole time.
Now,
Nice.
a question for you, Chepe, and your character. On your picture here, it looks like he has a pretty nasty scar over his eye. Like, does Switch have like a pretty deformed face?
Just his eye, and it goes up to his forehead as well. His you can't see his hair, but he has like short black hair that's pretty basic. He has a high. You can tell he's aging because he's balding. He has a high hairline. That's about it. Just ruffled. Probably about as wrinkly as Bill Cosby, except more scarred.
Okay, so finally getting like a good look at his face, like turning and actually engaging him, I feel a knot in my stomach start to tighten, and a little bit of nausea rises up because I'm a man that's very much about aesthetics, and looking at Switch is starting to make me feel like I'm gonna vomit.
You should see Wiretap without his mask on. Oh, sorry.
And after everybody says that they're ready to go, Wiretap basically just, gives a 1 second sign and runs out the door. A few minutes later, coming back with backpack on his back and gear at the ready.
Okay.
Prompt as always.
The next
Well,
question then is what do you guys intend to use for a door? What's your plan for getting into the zone? I'm giving you guys kind of creative license with this to come up with something. The door that was used last time, just for the record, Josh, is no longer available.
Okay, cool. Well, Wiretap is gonna take the phone and type in and set down on the table, and it just says, "Have guard patrols memorized. Can get us through. No available windows."
No, like KNOW. Right?
KNOW. No, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Stone will look to Switch and say, "Well, time for the pissing contest, boys. You got a better idea?"
I was actually just about to say the same thing as him.
Well, shoot. Looks like we got a plan then, because I have no idea.
I will let my people know, and we will go. Well, what time do you think? Is it better to do these things before or after nightfall?
Between.
And at that, Wiretap will point at Switch and just nod.
Okay, so you pick a time kind of around, what, twilight-ish time? Yeah?
Give those bastards a good 10-minute break before they switch off the shifts.
Okay.
And Wiretap picks up the phone, types in really quick, and hands to Switch, and it just says "River?" ?
He takes the phone, hands it back to him. Gives a single nod.
Excellent. So you're going to sneak across the border at the river. Very good. So when you, I don't know if you guys want to go and collect any gear, or say goodbye to anybody, or do anything else. Do you have any kind of relations or family or within the borderlands? Do you have
Whatever small remnants are left of the anti-faculty that are still sort of operating and together, he would go let them know that he's got a job that's going to pay well. So be ready because we'll have fun soon.
Okay. So you hang out with a bunch of punks, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
A bunch of anarchists, or not really, whatever. They're just anti-institute, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have an information agent. His name is Crimpjaw.
Yeah, he's probably
like,
the one who told you about this guy coming in looking for stalkers.
Yep, he headhunted this job for me. He already knows I'm here, though, so he's the only contact I would have in the Borderlands itself, so...
Crimpjaw, you said, yeah?
Yep.
I like it. Crimpjaw. Information broker. Cool. Switch, you got anybody here in the Borderlands, anything?
Only everyone.
Right. Just all the people of the Borderlands are...
I'm the electrician. / handyman / exterminator / janitor.
Cool. No family of your own, though, no?
No, not really. Just hang out with people, probably gather wires and some junk that they picked up from the zone. I basically try to use what little connections I have, just knowing everyone to get word in edgewise on possible wires and stuff. Because, if people have repurposed technology like car transistors and things like that,
I think
that normally goes to him.
In a lot of ways, it could be said that you probably have the most contacts in the Borderlands.
Not personal, but
Just
professional.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, excellent. So when you arrive back at the cafe, we'll call this place, your man, who never did give you his name, we're going to call him Mr. Black. And he's changed. He's no longer wearing the suit now. He's essentially, wearing kind of like camping gear. And so are his three guys. And they all look like goons, really. And they've all got big packs on their backs. And they have a couple of big duffel bags that they're carrying along as well. Two of them are carrying really large duffel bags. And they're waiting for you outside on the street, smoking cigarettes.
Reynolds
Still
carrying his
standing
big
out because they're camping gear and their clothes are all entirely too clean. Look like they've never been used.
Reynolds Switch is keeping his distance from them, carrying his huge ass backpack, jingling with some things inside of it. He's got a whole mesh kit, camping equipment, like an extra bag, some clothes, several Molotov cocktails, and some electrician's equipment that he's gone through, and he went through it with Wiretap before, seeing if he could get some old wires and stuff from him during the week, probably 2 or 3 days prior. So he has that jingling sound, like when pots fall out of the kitchen cabinet. That same sound when he hops up in order to get on in between a porch of a shanty and then coming back down an alleyway. and he basically like crisscrosses his way until he pops out of an alleyway and just kind of stands there just to make sure that he's in sight, but he doesn't want to be associated with these guys.
Okay.
I show up dressed exactly the same. I only have one mode of apparel, and it's fine.
Right. You go stalking in your fine clothes.
I do like nice like tuxedo style black suit, and I've got now on my forehead. It's not actually over my eyes, but I do have a visor that looks like they're night vision goggles and a small backpack.
Cool.
Wiretap comes off of the roof next to the building that Switch is standing next to, and catches his weight on the edge, sort of on the gutter, and his feet on the railing of the porch, and then hops off. Looks over at the goons and the guy now in like camping gear, just sort of like taps Switch and points at them.
Yeah, and they are all openly carrying sidearms as well. So now that Mr. Black is wearing camping gear, he no longer has. He still has the shoulder holsters, but they're no longer hidden underneath of his suit jacket or anything of that sort. And it is still kind of summertime, so they're not wearing like all weather jackets or anything of that sort. You know what I mean? So.
By the way, Wiretap.
He nods.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this Joker before, the Closer? What was it? The Closure? The Closure? Is he some kind of writer?
Wiretap just kind of like shakes his head, makes hands like pistols, and like and mimes like multiple shots basically, and points to himself and said goes like, I don't know, like at least that's what I've heard.
Kudos to you, Josh, for deciding to play a character who can't talk. That was very bold move.
I thought it'd be fun.
It is.
Oh, you don't say, and he's just kind of while you're doing the full pantomime.
And with that, after he realizes he did the gun pantomime, he like pulls off the shotgun on his back and checks the plug, make sure it's loaded and all of that sort of stuff.
All right, then. He's in the front.
I'm sorry, who's in the front? The closer? Is that what you said in the end?
Yeah, Wiretap just nods like, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'm not within earshot of this. I'm over talking to those guys, so they've made the decision.
You're probably sizing them up a bit. Do you have... sorry, I don't have your character sheet. I stepped away from my table for a minute. But do you have any abilities or anything that would allow you to really kind of gauge these guys, or...
Maybe my businessman, but that would only be, I'd be probably able to weigh up how much I can exploit them.
Well, Mr. Black seems quite competent anyway. He's definitely the brains of this operation, because these other three guys, like I said, they just look like goons. None of them look too bright. They all look to him kind of like for guidance, or for, not even guidance, but for direction. So he's obviously, they're either in his direct employ, or they're under some kind of orders to follow him anyway.
All right, so I would pick that up probably by looking for the business cues, like body language, the worth of the clothing they're wearing, the way they're posturing towards them.
Yeah, definitely. He's the alpha. Yeah.
So I would probably turn that gaze on Switch and Wiretap too.
Okay. Just
noticing the closer look over, Wiretap will wave.
I'll just raise my hand and kind of two fingers nod back.
He'll just scratch the back of his head, and then we'll start scratching like the thin, like after like 5 o'clock shadow that he's got going on. And just kind of like scratch at it with his bad, poorly kept nails over and over again as he comes closer.
Well, I'll tell you what I am thinking. I've weighed you up as. I think I've weighed up Switch as being kind of like the grease for the gears. He's the everyday man, probably not exceptionally bright, pretty ugly looking, nauseates me, seems to not have good hygiene, but I think he's a man that gets things done and that's valuable. So he's going to be like my workhorse. That's how I'm looking at him. And when I look over at Wiretap, what I see a man that I think is the strong and silent type, but I have not yet dismissed the idea that he might just be retarded. So, like, I'm still on the fence about that, but that's how I'm leaning right now. That's the businessman gaze.
That's a nice view into the thoughts of Alan Stone.
There you go.
Excellent. Well, Wiretap, I believe you were the one who proposed this particular door. So I would like you to describe to me how you're going to attempt to cross the border. Now, of course, there is a fence, but you know, you know yourself how good fences are at deterring people from getting into any place. But yeah, go for it.
Right. So having memorized the guard patterns and knowing that taking the river into the zone, while somewhat dangerous, is the least heavily guarded. So as soon as we make our way out of the river, as soon as we're inside the zone, it's usually safe, or at least has been Wiretap's experience thus far. So he'll wait until the changing of the guard, which the only guards that they have actually guarding the river that flows into the zone would just be on a small footbridge that's on the outside in the borderlands. So once that guard patrol basically switches out, the river flows into the zone, so we'll be clear and moving with the current in making our way in, so that way we can move in as quietly as possible underneath, you know, sticking to sort of the edge of the riverbed in between guard shifts.
Okay. And what about the fence itself? Do you have?
As far as the fence, Wiretap has his multi-tool to, you know, cut the links enough to. Basically, he's just going to cut the links enough to hold it open so that they can. I'm assuming it's like chain link fence, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So he has his wire cutters available to cut enough links to just sort of hold enough of the fence open for everybody to, you know, scuttle through, and then make our way from there. So he'll basically give the sign for once he and Switch walk over, he'll give the signal for everybody to sort of rally up at one of the houses that's very close to the actual river crossing itself. And as soon as he knows that the guards walk off of the bridge in their opposite directions, then he'll immediately go to work clipping the fence. And as soon as he gets enough of it open to hold up, he'll signal for everybody to come and go through. And he'll be listening in to, or attempting to, he'll pull his hood down, which anyone who notices the inside of his hood will see that it's lined with foil. He'll pull his hood down and he'll attempt to listen into the comms of any of the guards in the direct area on their radio frequency, and see if he can hear that.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
While he's undoing the fence, he'll take out. He's a practical man. He knows how to squeeze in and out of houses and things before. He'll take his pliers and he'll start pulling back and helping Wiretap as he goes, basically pulling back the sharp edges of the chain link fence that he actually cuts and basically folds it over in loop knots over on the side. That way it opens up a little bit more like a curtain, and it'll be a lot easier so he doesn't have to fully pull it back, and that way he can just unply it after we get on the other side.
The closer is going to be in the general proximity of him, kind of knelt down, and he's got one of his Weston Burr 9mm out with the silencer on it, and he's holding it, kind of perusing the fence area with his eyes, looking for any like errant guard or someone that might be walking by.
Okay. And once the fence is cut, what order are you going to proceed through? Keep in mind that you've got Mr. Black and his 3 goons as well.
Well, that's up to them as to how they go through. My thought would be closer, then Mr. Black and goons, and then obviously Switch and I go last.
Okay.
As the goons are passing through, I whisper in one of their ears, and do they answer? Like, is he responding?
Well, what are you whispering to him anyway? But yeah, I mean, they will respond.
Parlez-vous anglais?
Excuse me?
Oh, you do? All right, that answers my question then. You guys really are on Pepe, don't you? I kick him in the ass, get him through.
He grumbles over his like, speak English, motherfucker. Can't understand a word that guy just said.
You're in France, motherfucker.
Yeah, so, okay. So, the closer, you went first, is that right?
Yep, I kneeled down and made my way through.
Yeah, well, you're going... Are you just along the riverbank, or you be going actually into the water a bit here? You're going to be getting wet and muddy and...
Well, Oh, go ahead.
You say first, because how you answer this question is going to predicate how pissed off the closer is going to be.
I mean, there is room to go along the riverbank. You know, there is a walkway that goes underneath the bridge, but you would have to come immediately back up to the street on the other side, which is not exactly the safe way. Walking along the edge in the actual water would be the safest way, and going down to the next street crossing actually inside the zone and coming up there. So, I mean, he can't stop what the closer does once he goes to the other side, but the intent would be to go through the into the water.
You're going through near the muddy riverbank anyway.
Right.
So I look at these expensive shoes that I'm wearing and this like phenomenal pants section of my suit, and I'm just thinking, my drag cleaner is gonna kill me. This is bullshit. You gotta do it like the Yanks do it. Back in America, when we would sneak into a zone, it'd just be waxing a politician or paying some security guard. Solve everything with money. Would I have to damage our fine clothing?
Nice. So you get through, mud up on your shoes, and then the cuffs of your pants.
I'm really pedantic and like I'm just it's incredible neurosis. You see me constantly touching my hair and checking to make sure I'm not getting like any mud, any sludge or anything in it. That it's staying perfect.
No, your hair's fine. Just your shoes and socks are pretty much ruined. And maybe the cuffs of your pants.
I'll make a show of it too when I get out on the other side, like kicking mud off of my shoes and trying to wipe it off of my pant legs, exasperated.
Excellent. Mr. Black follows through after you. He's wearing, hiking boots and outdoors gear, so he's not too fussed about it. Does get one of his packs kind of caught on the fence a little bit, and you have to cut a little bit more away, realizing that some of the packs these guys are carrying are pretty damn big. But yeah, then he gets through. The 3 goons come through with the last one, the third one getting kicked in the ass by Switch on his way through.
and looking at how much of the fence that we've now had to cut, Wiretap just shakes his head, knowing that we're not going to be able to use this spot for some time again.
I put my hand on his shoulder, and then I take my pliers and I unravel some of the links, and then I try to reconnect the links over. Hopefully, since we're on the brink of night, maybe if we're able to come back within a few hours, which won't happen, but if it does, and we need a quick escape, then at least it'll look like it'll be one whole fence, because basically I'll rewrap the loops that I made, but over where the fence used to be, up against the side. So you basically would just see a line of where it was cut. If you would care to look, depends on how low we cut, but if a guard person actually looks down at the ground when they're walking, it would be a little bit harder to notice, unless they look down at the ground.
You hear chatter suddenly over the radio waves. Wiretap, you can do that, right? You can listen in to, yeah, you can hear what's being broadcast over their radio, even though they're a good distance away from you. It's in French, but I don't speak French, so I'm just going to say it in English. You hear, there's someone trying to cross the fence. Should we pursue? And then you hear another voice come over and say, no, too close to dark. Just shoot.
And okay, so who else threw at that point?
At this point, no. You and Switch are still to go through. Switch doesn't hear this, right? Because you're only hearing this because of your special ears.
Right, of course. So with that, I'll just like tap Switch and just go, and then I'll point like go, and give a sign like dive, like under the water.
Oh, so we're going straight to the river?
But you're right along the side of the river anyway.
Yeah, we're
river
at the
flows
river
into
at
the
this
zone.
point.
Yeah.
The river flows into the zone, but the fence is on the river as well, so you got to cross through here at the bank where you've cut it. But.
I take my pliers and put in the backpack as quick as possible. Take the pack and I hug it, and then I dive into the water.
Okay, so Switch comes through under the fence. Andrew, you and Mr. Black and the goons are kind of standing there, well, actually, you're probably standing straight up. I guess you're not probably crouching down in the mud, are you? They're all kind of crouching down in the mud because that's what Mr. Black is doing, and they're following his lead. And you see, when you hear the noise of Switch diving through the fence, and you hear kind of a little tear as part of one of his pant legs gets caught of his gear on the fence and tears a little bit as he dives through, and he slips right down the muddy bank into the water.
Oh, bloody hell!
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell, and then splash as he hits the water.
So, being like the John Madden, Mr. Obvious, I hear the splash and I hear the oh bloody hell right before it, and I'll turn to Mr. Black and say, "You guys stay put. I think we might have a complication."
Yeah, and with that, Wiretap will come like running down the banks towards them, like giving them the sign to like move.
So you're slipping through the fence last. Okay.
Yeah.
You're being fired at.
All right.
By sniper fire.
All right. So, sniper fire. What are my immediate surroundings like? I mean, I'm assuming that it's like the riverbank and we're near this bridge, correct?
Yeah. The bridge. Obviously, you chose this location because it was probably about as far from the actual guards which stand on the bridge as you could get, and crossing over in the bank. Distance-wise, I don't know, how far away would they be from you? Less than a couple 100 feet, I'd say. So it's not terrible range for somebody for a trained marksman with a rifle.
Gotcha.
But
all right.
You do have the muddy bank in front of you as well, and the river there.
All right. So yeah, I mean, basically, like same thing, telling them to move, and I'm gonna get down like in the water and start going along that way to get in, to put as much cover between myself and the sniper fire as possible, since I'm assuming it's like coming down from the side.
Yeah, very much so. Kind of coming in at an angle from over your right shoulder.
Yeah, so I mean, he'll, as soon as he hears the like crack of a gunshot fired in the distance, he'll just immediately dive for the water.
Okay. So you're going to get hit. Unless you want to do something.
Yeah, so I will burn my my fitness point, I guess, to dive fast enough to get out of the way.
Okay.
Narrowly escaping.
Just a second here. Let me go back and find. Yeah, sorry. I just need to look at something here real quick. make sure I do this correctly. I think with how that works, Chepe, you have a little bit more experience than me, maybe, but not much. But he could, by spending the Hand of Fate point, he can just take a minor injury instead of basically getting picked off by a sniper, right?
It can be a lot worse than minor.
Because the sniper is, of course, trying to kill him.
Yep.
So without the Hand of Fate point, Wiretap would be getting like his head blown off. So you're diving. Okay, I'll do this narratively, thinking about this as you're diving in towards the water, kind of sliding down the muddy bank. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he'll basically like hit the bank and do like an intentional slide towards the water, like pushing off at the last second to dive in.
Okay. You're going to take shot in your left calf. Okay.
All right.
It's you feel the burn, you feel the pop as it hits you. It doesn't take the leg off. It's not a completely crippling injury. But you're gonna be bleeding, and it's gonna slow you down. Check in with the bad puns. And you slide into our splash, and at that point, Mr. Black says, "Shit, which way do we go?" And he's looking at you, Stone.
How far away are we from where Wiretap went down?
You probably didn't go too far in. I'd say, maybe 50 feet?
50 feet. And we're like in the middle of the river, right? We're working across.
But you're standing on the river bank.
On the bank.
You're pretty exposed to those snipers.
I will say, your priority, Black, and I'll push him into the river and jump in.
Nice. So he slides on down into the river.
And hopefully, he slides down into the river. I dive in after him. My hair gets all messed up. My suit torn, muddy, a complete disaster. And as we're like bobbing up and down in the water, I go that way, and I'll just point to my right and start swimming with him away from the fire.
To your left, but that's okay.
Yeah, to my left it would be.
That's fine. Right would take you back towards the bridge, but you don't want to go that way.
Yep.
That's fine. He's obviously in because you pushed him in. Another crack of the rifle goes off, and one of the goons, basically, his head just fucking erupts into a volcanic eruption of blood, and he drops lifeless and kind of slides down the river, rolls down the riverbank into the water. The other two at that point just dive in. To hell with this, and get into the water. Wiretap and actually Switch, you hit the water first. Where were you going once you hit the water?
I was aiming across, but it says the river goes into the zone, right?
It does.
I was going with the flow. So basically arcing over to the other side, but in the direction in which the water is flowing.
Absolutely.
Trying to dive down at the same time, dipping only back up. Running out! Going back under.
Switch. Wiretap. What about yourself? You were the second one in the water. You are muted. You are still muted.
Sorry. So yeah, I mean, basically just running on pure adrenaline in the moment, possibly not even knowing that he's been shot at this, second, having just jumped in the water and everything. He's just going to start swimming. If he notices the pain, he'll do his best to deal with that. But for now, he's just going to keep swimming until he gets out of the range of that gunfire. He knows that there's enough interceding buildings in between him and them to come out of the river.
Nice. Ironic pun there, running on adrenaline. He's not going to be running anywhere for a while.
Well, yeah.
Hey, at least the river is.
So yeah, by the time you you're in the water with Black and two of his three goons that are still alive, you can already see Switch and Wiretap swimming down river.
One thing I make sure of, Ian, after the initial burst of adrenaline where I jump in, basically without thinking, it was just instinct. Once I hit the water, right away, I'm going to try to take my backpack off and let it float as much as possible to try to reduce water damage to what's inside of it.
That's fair.
So I'll let that kind of like float on top of the water. It'll still get wet, but it won't be completely submerged.
Mm-hmm. So you guys go down river for a little while. It probably only takes a couple of minutes, really, because you're going with the flow of the river as well. And it is going into dusk, so you'll be out of range and vision of the snipers after, within a couple of minutes. Well, obviously, Switch, you'll be getting there first. How do you want to...
I crawl out, I throw my bag. I was trying to keep my bag up as much as possible as well, putting it only under me, like basically sealing it, like basically bear hugging it and riding under it, trying to keeping it above water, and then basically switching only when I have to. But the when Switch gets out, the first thing he's going to do, because of his instincts, is going to search for a building line. There's a building he can duck into on the other side, because the whole city didn't collapse. Hopefully, there's at least one building structure. It's at dusk right now.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few buildings still standing.
The one that's low doesn't have multiple stories. If there is a one-story building of some kind that's directly in front of me, or one that's lower than the other buildings, that head straight for it.
Okay. You will you see a building there, yeah, and so you head straight for it.
Go directly for it. I cut a beeline out of the water. There's no way, after discovering us, they wouldn't continue to be searching for us. I'm running straight for it. It's nighttime. It's cold. It's water. I need shelter. Everyone else does. They can hoof it themselves.
Okay. As you start running towards this building, Wiretap is coming up out of the water. I presume you guys are all going to try to kind of surface at the same location, stick together, not get separated. Wiretap, you come up on the bank of the river, and the closer's not too far behind you with with Mr. Black and his two remaining goons. And as you come out of the water, Wiretap, a thought crosses your mind, because you've heard of people entering actually through the water before, and you think, man, it's really lucky he didn't run into any anomalies. And as you think that, you see Switch kind of running towards this building, and you can actually kind of see very momentarily, very briefly, it happens in a flash. You think you see like almost like a distortion in the air, like you'd see, well, you're from Texas, when you see like the summer heat. Wafting up off of asphalt, except there's no asphalt here, and it's not that hot either at the moment. You just see like almost this rippling or shimmering in the air, kind of, as Switch is running directly into it. And Switch, as you hit this, you begin to float gently upwards. At first, like, you feel your feet leave the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then it accelerates quickly.
All right. So basically, I'm going to try to shift my weight and do the equivalent to a backflip, putting the backpack that I was bear hugging as I was hoofing it farther behind, because if there's any chance of me getting out of this thing alive, the only way I could do it is to basically deal with its axiom, because it's rotating me in a clockwise position, right? I'm assuming.
Well, sure. That sounds good.
I'll balance the force because it's basically lifting me up straight up, and if it's something like heat or air, which is what I'm feeling right now, I'm assuming, then shifting my weight backwards would basically kilter off the lift effect, and would probably, hopefully, with maybe a leg injury or something, shove me down head first into the ground on the other side, basically cutting the angle of lift.
Get yourself out of the anomaly as quickly as possible. Good stalker instincts. So you're seeing this as you're coming up on the shore, Andrew. The closer looks up and you see Wiretap up ahead of you. I don't know how's Wiretap reacting as he sees this happening to Switch.
He's probably just standing in shock and then attempting to to run over, then realizing the bullet wound in his leg and like being forced to basically drop to all fours on the ground and just look up and sort of helplessly watch.
So you see this maneuver. Both of you see this maneuver that Switch is pulling as he kind of flips backwards. And do you have anything breakable in your pack?
Plenty. I have 2 Molotov cocktails, compass, several cans of food, binoculars, electrician's tools. I would probably be dropping nuts and bolts to see if anything would react. If not, then I'm just going head first to the ground if I can make it with the back.
Well, because you were quick with your reaction, I'm going to say you managed to roll your way out of the anomaly when you're, let's say you're maybe 15 feet up off the ground. Because it starts off like a slow lift and then it rapidly accelerates in speed. And you come out of it about 15 feet off the ground and you come right down on your pack. The pack breaks your fall. And you hear the shattering of glass. Well, it's not really so much a shattering of glass because your pack is tightly packed. You hear the crunching of what used to be.
Oh, bloody hell! And I roll a little bit more down the hill, away from the anomaly, dragging my pack with me. As if I get away enough, I'm going to open up my pack and basically rummaging through every single thing, trying to save my electrician supplies, because that's my lifeline in the zone.
Yeah, you shattered the Molotov cocktails.
I pull off both Molotov cocktails that were wrapped properly, and get their ignition rags as well, and I just toss them toward the river. And shouting profanities as I do.
Yeah. Mr. Black is now out of the water, and he's cursing. And he says, Stone, we can't leave him back there. We got to go back for that man. We need his bag.
You're right, and I'll head back.
Okay. You, of course, have seen what happened to Switch. Wiretap, Switch is now on the ground. You see him rummaging through his pack and cursing. And Switch, Mr. Black is like, what the hell is wrong with him? What's his problem?
and Wiretap will just sort of look over at Mr. Black and like cock his head, like, really? Did you not just see what happened? Like,
he was
kind of, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, now that seeing that Mr. Black is facing him, he doesn't know that though. Like at the moment, and he's gonna open up his pack and begin ruffling through, and having haphazardly dived in the water and just swam, he's gonna try to see if the painkillers are at least in some state of use, and whether the wet gauze that he has in there can actually be used to bandage his leg at the moment.
Yeah, the gauze would be wet, all right. The painkillers probably okay because they're probably in a plastic bottle, I'd say.
Right.
So they're fine. They're not ruined. Yeah, you get everything is wet. Black's like walking. Black actually walks up to Switch, and he says, "What the hell is wrong with you, man? Are we unpacking here? What are we having, a picnic?"
Anomaly, stay the fuck back. Know the fuck what you're talking about for once. Yes,
what are you talking about?
Let me do this. And he takes it and he grabs like one of his extra shirts because he only brought 2 extra shirts. He rips off one of the cloth and he tosses it at Wiretap.
Oh, okay. And it just like shoots up. And by the time the wind carries it through the anomaly, it's like 100 feet in the air. He says, "Oh shit."
Hasn't stopped.
And he just kind of like crouches down now, as if that's going to help, but he doesn't know how to react. No, it went about 100 feet in the air, but the wind eventually carries it through the space of the anomaly, and then it falls from that point.
Oh, so we have to go around.
So it'll fall slowly.
Gotcha. I take the other half of that shirt, and I try to help him with the gauze, basically trying to wrap it around, trying to make a pseudo splint. I take the pliers. Do you want me to pull it out? Did it go through?
Give you a thumbs up.
Or at least you won't
Actually-
be screaming. Whoop,
Oh, or did it go through?
Did it go through?
You check. Do you have any medical knowledge or any background stuff for medicine?
I don't.
Either one of you.
No.
Nope. I just know wrap the thing around the cut.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Okay. If you're wrapping it off anyway,
Yeah, wrap it up and wrap it tight.
Mhm.
you'd be clever enough to notice anyway. He's got a hole on the left side of his calf and a hole on the right side of his calf, and the bone doesn't seem to be broken. Anybody can figure out that much, I think.
Cool. All right. Well, in that case, then he would shake his head. No, it's not still in, or then he'll point to both holes.
Look on the bright
Andrew.
side. Go ahead.
Yep.
As the closer's heading back down towards the riverbank, or towards the river, the two thugs are there looking at you like,
Where the hell's the bag?
did I lose my connection? Hold on. Oh, wait. Okay, I see Cheppy moving. Andrew, are you there?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Sorry. So, yeah, the one of the thugs looks at you and says, "What the fuck? You going back in there?"
Where's the bag?
"What bag? My bag's here."
There's two thugs you said?
Yeah, there's the two of them there. They're just kind of getting up out of the water now at this stage.
And am I counting as I see two bags, like one for each thug?
Yeah. The dead thug is obviously not there, and neither is his bag.
He wants so
And
Black wants me
he
to
had one of the big duffel bags.
he wants me to get the bag that's potentially back on the shore where we jumped in.
Possibly.
I look at one of the thugs and I say, "What are in those bags?" Black told me to recover the bag.
So the backpacks have our, survival supplies, food, water, clothes, flashlights, batteries. He's just listing off a whole list of things: toothpaste, toilet paper, bars of soap. And then the other thug says, "Well, no, he had one of the duffels, you idiot." Oh shit, we're gonna need that.
I just kind of do this thing with my hand. Why?
Well, it's got the other parts to this, and he, shakes the other duffel bag, and you hear large metal pieces rattling inside. It's a rifle.
Fuck. I take the bag that's on my back and I throw it. I take my shoes off, and I'm going to dive back in the river and go swimming back.
Swimming upriver.
I'm going to try to swim upriver to get to the bag.
No problem. You can do so. The river's not exactly the current's not too strong here or anything of that sort. It'll be a good bit of exercise. It'll take you a little while.
All right, I go for it. I try to keep as under the river as much as possible. Like I actually submerge and swim underneath and just come up for air.
Yeah, the sun will have set by the time you get back there anyway, which will work to your advantage.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, as you get back there eventually, you can see. Well, no, you don't see the thug anywhere. You can see the mark in the mud where he slid and rolled. It leads all the way down into the water. But you also see the duffel bag about halfway down the bank, sitting beside the sliding mark.
How far out is it from the edge of the water?
I'm going to say about 10 feet.
10 feet, huh? I'm going to get up to the edge of the water as carefully as possible, like get down in the muck, so like my chest is actually rubbing against the ground, and then leap out after it and try to grab it and hug it on my chest and roll down the hill.
Nice. Okay, you get up, you grab it, you hug it, you roll down the hill, back into the water. You don't hear the familiar crack of sniper fire. It would seem that you weren't noticed.
So while I'm floating back down the river, I'm thinking to myself, this rifle better have been fucking worth it.
You know that the patrols don't, the guards, the border patrols, they do not come into the zone at nighttime. They just shoot anybody that they see moving on the wrong side of the fence, and then they pick up the bodies in the morning if they can. Or sometimes they just leave them there.
Okay, so like traveling down the river then, since I have that information, I'll try to hold the bag up as much as possible and expose myself a little bit more to keep it drier.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. Makes it a bit difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty badly waterlogged, and being someone that's familiar with firearms, I know that I'm going to have to dry this thing out, like actually do a little bit of work on it probably to get it to fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not to mention your own firearms and everybody's firearms. They're all going to need some attention.
Yep, so I will make as quick a pace as possible.
Okay. Switch, wiretap. You've made the bandage up on Wiretap's leg anyway. Pretty sure that'll stop the bleeding.
Okay, I'm gonna instantly try to, because he's a pathfinder. It's kind of one of the things he does in the zone. He's gonna try to navigate his way around so he can still get into the building, but be away from, like, basically try to double back around any inroad he can get into a building around.
Oh yeah, you can do so using your nuts and the nuts and cloth technique, and just kind of being a bit more cautious now.
Yeah, definitely.
The only reason I hit you with that was just because you were just running through the zone and not being careful, not taking caution.
There's not much caution when you're in sniper fire.
I understand. So yeah, you do find a way to the building, so you can maneuver everybody over to there.
Hey, this way.
Okay. And now, after your demonstration with the shirt and the weird little kind of, I don't know what you'd call that, the weird lifting kind of anomaly, Mr. Black and his men listen very closely, and they follow everything you tell them to do. Wiretap knows well enough anyway, so he knows what to do. So when you get back, Andrew, you don't see anybody. Do you guys do anything to kind of show where you went? Do you want to turn on a light or something, or?
I've got night vision goggles, so I'll go over to where I threw my bag, and laying next to it, you see like an imprint in the mud and the shimmer of a little bit of a lens, and I'll pick them up and kind of wipe the front of them off and put them on.
Okay. Yeah, you can see the footprints and everything in the mud, and you can see where they led.
So I do like a slow pan down the basically the beach. It's really not the beach, but it's next to the river. Do I see any other footprints? Do I see any figures?
No.
All right, so I'll grab the bag then.
Footprints leading up towards this building, kind of in like a zigzaggy kind of pattern.
I'll sling the duffel bag that I just got over my back, pick up my bag, make sure nothing fell out on the ground, and slowly start making my way up the hill.
Nice.
And I'll follow the footprints. Try to stay like with them, maybe even zigzag the way they zigzagged, just to be cautious.
Yeah, you know they're probably moving around to avoid anomalies and other potential issues and stuff. One issue with the night vision goggles, they're handy for seeing things in the dark, but they also can be deceptive because you may not pick up on anomalies that your naked eye may pick up on as well.
Yeah, so it'll be like foot to foot. It's like a little kid walking in the prints of like snow boots or something.
Yeah, and you get to the building and you'll find your team in there drying themselves off. Thugs and Mr. Black have all kind of taken out their pistols and taken out the clips, and they're trying to air it all out. And obviously it's just going to take time for it to dry. Mr. Black is probably arguing with Switch about why they can't start a fire.
So I'll walk in and taking the duffel I went back for off my shoulder, I'll kind of not throw it violently, but drop it and slide it over to one of Black's men, one of his goons, and I'll be like, "There you go. I recovered it. I always close." And I'm like taking my suit and I'm like wringing it out as I say it. I always close.
He looks at you, Black looks at you and says, well done. I think you've just earned yourself some kind of bonus if we can work something out after this is all done.
Look forward to it. And I take my guns out and start going through the laborious process of drying them out also. I actually have, being in the gun industry, being a firearm enthusiast, in my bag, the one I tried to keep as dry as possible, the first one, I have some like oil rigs, some gun rigs, and I'm going to be deassembling my gun and running the rig through each individual part, really drying it out and then lubricating it.
Nice.
So this is probably a little bit more attention than, say, one of his men would be giving to their gun. I'm actually putting it through its cycle.
Yeah, definitely is. And, you know, you see the men are trying to, they're like watching and they're like, oh shit, yeah, we should do that too. And they're trying to follow suit and they're kind of fumbling around a bit. And you see Black kind of says, look, this is how you do it, idiots. And he's trying to show them, trying to help them. And he says, and one of them says, oh man, he says, Daryl's dead. He's like, what? We're going to have to, he's got a wife and 2 kids, man. Black says, well, he knew the dangers when he signed on for the job. He should have moved quicker under fire.
Seeing Black's men like fumbling with trying to clean their guns, he'll just look at his shotgun and look at them and just sort of shake his head, and he'll walk over to the closer and just sort of tap him, and he'll point it at the shotgun and basically make a this and like basically like gesturing if he can work something out so that he'll do it for him. He'll to do the same treatment to his shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So like I blow through the barrel of the gun I'm working on and I set it down and say, yeah, no problem. And I'll grab that and start deassembling it as well.
So it's nighttime now. It's just gone dark. You know the area where Gandalf lately kind of hangs around during the day. There's a rendezvous point where he kind of goes around just in case anybody's in the area looking for something or there's any news or any trade going on. He always hangs out by this statue, which is just called the General. You, from your experience traveling through the zone, you know it's in kind of like this is kind of an urban part of what was formerly an urban part of Toulouse anyway. And you know if you were to leave, it'll take you probably walking on foot from here, probably at least 5 hours to get there. And he usually hangs out around there around noon. You don't know exactly how long. It probably varies from day to day, but you can usually find them there around midday. Do you want to try to proceed while it's dark? Do you want to try to wait until the sun comes up?
He's there usually around noon, you said?
Yeah, midday,
right.
unless he has other appointments, of course. But,
right, of course.
You know.
So with that, he'll walk over to Black, and he'll just sort of tap him on the shoulder, and show him 7, and then make an A with his hands, like with his fingers, and then like rally up and go.
$7A, and then you start to go?
No, yeah, like no, 7A, and then he does like the sign for like, for rally, and
Okay.
then like the symbol, like the hand sign for move out.
Yeah, Black's like 7A, go. Right. Do you guys know what he's saying?
Means head out at 7 a.m. What are you, daft?
He kind of
Worst
looks at
luck in
you,
the
kind
world.
of. He doesn't take too kindly to you calling him names, but then he does remember that you probably just saved his life back there, so he just begrudgingly kind of swallows any retort. He's not used to being talked to like that, but he knows he's in the zone now. So, right, got it. Thanks for the translation.
Well, you can't even speak French, so I could translate that for you as well if you need it.
Well, I hope your French is better than your English.
And with that discussion, he goes through his backpack and pulls out the now like totally soaked notepad and does his best to tear out a couple sheets and try to separate them so that they dry out so that he actually has something to write on. For Mr. Black, seeing that he obviously isn't getting the gist of hand signs.
Oh yeah, you had that mobile phone, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, I figure that's done.
It wasn't in a waterproof protective case, was it?
Nope, it sure was not.
Yeah,
neither were the walkie-talkies that he could have used Morse code with.
This is awesome. Okay. So you guys will camp out in this building. You've got shelter for the night. You do notice, like, it is summertime, but it's considerably cooler here in the zone. It rains a bit throughout the course of the night. You can hear the rain beating off the roof of the building, and the ground outside as the windows are no longer present in this. The glass is no longer present in the windows of this building.
Good, because we needed more water. Sorry, go ahead.
When Wiretap is like writing out his messages and stuff, when I see him use paper, I just wanted to make a note that I take great interest in the fact that he's actually writing, and I start to piece together maybe a little bit of the mystery that is Wiretap, that he's actually likely sharp, and my first assumption may be more correct, that he's the strong silent type. There's some kind of injury at play here.
Yeah, he's all kinds of injured now. He's not going to be moving too quick either.
Yeah, I'm sure what should have been like a 2-hour like brisk walk is now turning into a 5-hour trudge.
Well, no, it would have been a 5. Well, nobody takes brisk walks through the zone.
Well, yeah.
So it's not going to really slow you down too much anyway, because you would be spending a lot of time crawling and sneaking and, etc. But
Very
you're
true.
probably going to need somebody to kind of help you along, unless you have a crutch or something. But you're not going to be able to put weight on that calf.
Oh. No, I totally don't.
So
I'm gonna start looking around the building, see if I can't find like either like something that could function as a cane or something along those lines in the building that we're in, sort of slowly checking room by room, or if I can't find anything directly, if there's if I can find like a piece of wood that I can tear off of something that'll look sturdy enough, like maybe a broom handle or something along those lines that I can use as like a walking stick type deal.
Unfortunately, you do not.
I'm a scavenger. I go through every area of the building up and down, looking for a metal bar, looking for more nuts and bolts to use, looking for any loose wiring that I could possibly use, and anything that's left of the generator that was in this building.
Okay, yep, you'll find all kinds of little miscellaneous parts for that stuff. And metal bar, you don't find... Well, you do find an old fire axe, but the wood's rotten, and it would just crumble under any weight. But you're thinking about metal bars, and there should be some rebar in some of these walls somewhere if you can smash them open. But, the question is, how do you cut out? Do you have any tools or anything you'd be able to cut out a piece of rebar to try to fashion some kind of a walking stick for him? Rebar's pretty nasty stuff.
Could be no way.
And then you have another thought. You think, well, what about plumbing pipes? That might be easier.
It would be easier, but there's no way he would dig it out. He didn't bring a shovel or anything like that. He's not in for demo. He's strictly an electrician.
I understand. Okay, so morning comes. You guys have a tinned breakfast. And who is going to be Wiretap's extra leg?
I will.
Okay. So is that going to put you on main point then, Closer?
Yep. Looks like I'm the target.
I mean, if he's trying to help Wiretap get along, it's going to distract him and make it harder for him to spot anomalies, etc.
Yeah, me and I'm actually going to instruct one of Mr. Black's men to take point with me. So there's going to be two of us.
Okay.
Is there a bigger one of the two? Like, is there one clearly
sure.
more physically fit than the other?
Sure.
Let's say, like,
Of course.
hey,
He's not as fat as the other guy.
Mr. Black, do you mind if I borrow one of your men? I need someone up point with me. Things might get hairy.
He says, yeah, take John.
Hey, thanks, John. And I'll stick out my hand and give him a little bit of an insulting shake, because I might have just signed his death warrant.
Right?
Hey, you're up front with me.
Dumbly, not knowing. Glad I could help, I guess, yeah.
Hey, you know, all the action's going to be up here. Up
He's
front, we're
carrying
going to be the first one to the objective,
big
right?
duffel bags as well.
And,
So it'll be like it's like a backslapper, right? Like up here with me, John. Hey, you got a wife and kid, John?
He says, well, got a couple kids, no wife.
What happened?
Rubber broke.
Oh yeah.
Twice.
And I get like a
And
serious look
the
on
other
my
guy, whose name is Mitch, just kind of chuckles. You wore a rubber? Yeah, right, John.
face. John, you were a man born for the front lines.
Thanks.
You just give him like a snap. Hey, don't mention it.
Okay.
And this, like, I've got this shit show already walking. I'm just trying to keep the guy's mind off the fact that he's gonna die. Like it's a foregone conclusion in the closer's mind. The guy's dead.
Right. Do you want to go ahead and give us you can do a cinematic description of how you kind of guide them over the next several hours. It's actually, I would say, take about 6 hours traveling through this urban area of the city, avoiding different anomalies, etc.
Yep. So you see like the urban blight, so to speak, the decay that's taken a hold of like this abandoned section of the zone. And there's these large ruinous buildings. I am sneaking around the edges. I'm leading them through the urban broken down temple, so to speak. We crossed through like this large warehouse. It might have used to be a greenhouse or something. Had a large glass ceiling on it, but it's been broken. And now there's like gnarled-looking vegetation and stuff that have kind of grown around some of the industrial structures. We're passing through, got our guns out. Very slow going because of wiretap, but we make sure we're always perceptive. Like the closer knows enough about vantage points and ambush from doing stuff in the zones in America that he's very, very peculiar about the route he's taking. He doesn't want to lead them into like an Apache style ambush where they're going to get taken on both sides by something. So very keen to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, sometimes mutants can be hostile, and mutants aren't always human to begin with either. So
It's very much a situation where me and John are a wall that they're going to have to get through to get to the rest of the people in our convoy. Anything we see that's moving, me and John, either me or John, will address it, we'll hail it out, probably at gunpoint. That's the type of situation we're in.
Yeah, you don't come across any people. A few animals here and there, and they're all deformed or mutated as well. A couple of dogs, which judge you guys to be too dangerous, and decide not to mess with you guys and move on. John gets a start at one point when a rabbit scurries out across the path. See some crows eyeing you.
I should mention I am really worried about Wiretap's injury and how much ground we're covering. So being the businessman, I will be paying attention to when it looks like he's hit his limit and habitually try to get more out of him between every rest. Like the first rest is maybe like a 30-minute rest. Like we travel 30, he rests for 10. Then I'm going to try to travel an hour and make him rest for 10. And like the overlord trying to pinch the employee, I'm going to try to milk all the travel time out of him I can.
Absolutely. So you're well sore by the time you guys will get to the general statue.
Switch is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, and every time he's trying to irk him on, Stitch is just like shaking his head up and down in approval.
Right. Oh, yeah. At one point, you hear something kind of like a howl off in the distance. Sounds almost wolf-like. But then as it kind of trails off at the end, it gets real guttural and almost human-sounding. It sounds very far away. You can't really, it came from let's see, you guys are the zone heading west. It came from, let's say, the northwest.
And hearing this howl that sounds canine at first, like all of a sudden, Wiretap will just completely freeze up, and then as it starts to get more guttural and human, he'll start to relax and look down and realize that he's completely wrenched up a fistful of Switch's hoodie, and he'll let go and sort of look at him for a second and look back at the way that they were going.
Okay. When you reach your destination, after carefully avoiding several anomalies along the way, the general statue stands in the middle of an old street. It's kind of like an old commercial district of town. It looks like, bigger buildings here, made largely of, glass. A lot of them still have glass in them. The stronger glass is still there. Dirty, of course. It's been sitting here for 13 years without a wipe. And the general statue itself is a big, I would say it's about a 15-foot tall statue. And it's on a base, which is probably a few feet tall as well. But the statue itself is it's ruptured in a way. It looks like as if something burst out from inside of it. And Ian, if you want to narrate Gandalf's presence here, unless Gandalf's away on business, in which case we can just skip you.
No, Gandalf is actually in the window of a cafe across the street. He doesn't normally stand outside when he's waiting for potential clients. On this particular morning, he normally goes by the shadow cast by the general's sword. When it reaches a particular crack in the road, that's when he packs up and goes. It was almost there, and then he saw these two guys walking over. He was about to go out to see them, and then he saw more, and he's just holding off, revealing himself until he sees exactly how many there are.
Okay. So yeah, at the front you see the closer and one of the goons, John, and you guys have guns out. They do have weapons drawn, pistols. Yeah. And behind them, after a bit, you'll see Switch with Wiretap over one shoulder, but you know what I mean. He's got his arm wrapped around one shoulder, and kind of helping him along. So you can tell one of them is injured. And then behind them, taking up the rear, would be Black and the other thug. So 6 men total, 4 of which at least have guns out, the 2 in the front, the 2 in the back. It's up to you if you want to say you recognize any of the stalkers. You know, at least by reputation, you know of every stalker who operates in Zone France. I don't know if you've met them all. But...
I think possibly the one that I would know would be Wiretap through his father. Gandalf was in the gendarmes a long time ago, but perhaps he was retiring when this young rookie was starting, who turned out to be a good friend. We kept in contact with him after Gandalf retired, and he knows of his son, but he's not seen them for many years. But he would recognise this lad by his reputation, mostly by his reputation.
Well, you probably know about his accident. You know about his deformity, and you know why he wears the mask and all that. Probably then. And you see, yeah, he's he's the wounded one anyway.
I shall call before I reveal myself. Bonjour, Monsieur Wiretap. It is Gandalf. Let your friends know I am friendly.
So me and John, I'm sure both have guns pointed towards the sound. Show yourself.
First of all, I shall take the rucksack and hold that out as I walk forwards. So it's actually shielding me slightly if they do decide to shoot at me.
What's John's constitution?
What's his what?
Like, is he like shaking? Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say he's actually shaking a little bit, and he's pointing the pistol, and he's looking at you, and he's obviously it's written across his face. Should I shoot? Should I shoot? He doesn't say it, but you can tell it's exactly what's going through his mind.
I'll just say, pull yourself together.
It's Gandalf, right? Looking at Wiretap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bloody old man right here in the middle of town. This is the place, right?
Mon ami, it is Gandalf.
Black says, "John, lower your pistol for God's sake. You're not going to kill our guide, are you?" So John does.
We need to get this man seen to at the very least and back to out of the zone as soon as possible. Yeah, there are 6 of you. That it is unprecedented amount of people traveling together. I'm surprised you have made it this far without just one injury.
Wiretap will hold up, 2 fingers at that point.
Duh.
And then he'll, make a sign like he didn't make it.
Mon Dieu.
Black will kind of not whisper, but talk a little bit low under his breath to Switch. He's come up behind you now on the other shoulder. Do you think you should tell him about the offer, or do you want me to? He might be more receptive to speaking to people more of his ilk.
The offer is just to take you there. You do it.
Fine. He steps up. He says, hello, Mr. Gandalf.
Bonjour.
I'm Mr. Black. I
Ah.
have hired these fine young stalkers to escort me and my men here to an oasis in the Western Hills. We've heard of your great reputation. You're the greatest guide in the zone, they say. And we thought it would be prudent if you could join us on this expedition. There's a considerable amount of money involved for payment.
6 of you? And 1 man injured? This is an impossible task.
Well, yeah, I see 4 stalkers here. The payment is $10,000 US. You can divide it up amongst the living stalkers at the end.
10,000.
Me and my men, we've already received our payment for this job.
I'm going to try to strengthen the 10,000 offer by using my skill as a businessman. I turn to Mr. Black and I say, 10,000? You're going to pay him 10,000? We don't even know if we can do it. We don't know if he could do it. He's here, but that doesn't mean he knows the place, and I'm putting on a show like he's overpaying him.
Well, Gandalf has the reputation of being the best guide in the zone. If anybody can get us there, it must be him.
I do not know about this reputation. I know my way around Toulouse.
You have a momentary vision of Red Star.
I know my way some areas outside the zone. I have had my successes the main, but never have I taken 6. It is a challenge for $10,000.
We're trying to reach a large colony of mutants and visitation survivors.
Okay. Where in the Western Hills did you say?
Yes. You haven't been out there for some time.
Has any news of this profit filtered back to me?
Yeah, you've probably heard some rumors. You've heard the rumors that some people are saying that he's in the zone. A lot of people are convinced that he's either an alien or a hybrid. Maybe
I think that piece of information, when I realise where they're going, that piece of information will swing it for me.
Yeah, you'd say you realize when he says, "Yeah, we're going looking for a colony in the Western Hills." You're like, "Western Hills? Well, yeah, that's where the prophet guy supposedly is." It's probably been on your list of places to go to, since you are constantly looking for more visitation survivors.
Sure. That is somewhere I've wanted to go for a long time.
Well,
I will take you.
Safety in numbers, right?
But first of all, we must do something with this fellow's leg. I have medicines. Do any of you have medical training? Is there a doctor amongst you?
Black looks around. Does anybody raise their hand?
I know medical law.
Medical law? Oh.
Do you have a saw?
I have a saw. I have an extra staff too.
I mean, there may be risk of infection and gangrene, right?
Right.
Do you have any soap?
With the question of do you have a saw, Wiretap looks over at Mr. Black and just gives him the finger. Like
He says, "What? Gangrene?"
Do you have any soap?
Salt? Salt, did you say?
Yes.
I have a little, not that much.
Gonna need all the salt you have.
Okay. Okay, I use the doctor type then. Is it some kind of medical usage?
If by medical you mean cars and generators, then yes.
No. Okay. If you bring him inside first of all, we must get out of the streets. Gandalf will look around, just check the area. He's not checked it for at least 5-10 minutes while we've been talking. So,
Whitey, Gandalf, since he comes out here to meet with potential traders and things of that sort, would it be safe to say that he keeps a majority of his valuable stash nearby, not necessarily all in one place, but in the area?
sure. The cafe is a good place. There's this room upstairs.
So you
Storage
do
area.
have a pretty large stash of medical supplies. You did just carry 3 full packs of things out of the battlefield recently.
Sure. Sure. Bring him in upstairs. Upstairs, there is an area we can use to see to him.
All right then.
And there is food for the rest of you. You look as though you are ready to eat.
Mr. Black says, "Do you have a thick stick or piece of wood for him to bite down on before we saw off the leg?"
We will see if amputation is the way to go. But yes, I have it.
Wiretap will look at him and he'll go he'll basically tap his jaw and just shake his head, couldn't bite down on it anyway, even if he wanted to.
He doesn't know what the hell you're saying. He just looks at you like, what? Whatever.
He will Switch will translate in many very colorful expletives with hints of sarcasm and parody toward our good friend Mr. Black to translate what Wiretap was saying, or at least what Switch thought in his mind that Wiretap was saying.
What? He doesn't have a jaw under there? Wow. So that's why he doesn't talk. You've never taken off the mask, I don't think, since this whole exposition started, have you?
No. And he'll pull out one of the slips of paper that he dried off, and he'll write down, it doesn't work, and he'll hand it to you. He'll hand it to Mr. Black.
Okay. All right, well, so losing half of a leg would be nothing to you, right?
He'll flip him off again.
Just saying. I've seen it on television. This is what usually happens.
I'll try to distract Mr. Black a bit to keep him away from the surgery.
Okay.
Are you thirsty, Mr. Black? You look a little bit parched. Do you have anything we could drink, Gandalf?
Fresh water? Absolutely, and a bit of alcohol, perhaps?
Vodka, yes, vodka would be good. I want to stay away from drinking water. No offense, it's not that I don't trust your source of water, it's just best to be precautious.
Absolutely, and I have fresh clothing and something more suitable for yourself to wear, monsieur.
My eyebrow raises really, really, really high. Suitable? Oh, you know what? That's very gracious. I will accept.
Very good.
Okay.
This way.
So,
Absolutely.
medical treatment-wise, does anybody have any basic knowledge at all about medicine? Nobody does at all, do they? I don't think so.
I have basic science.
It'd be good to keep some kind of a doctor like Stalker around. Got a couple of scavengers.
I almost made that character, but I was like, nah, after what happened in the last game, that just feels too,
too metagaming.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, I won't do that.
Now, I do, Ian, when I read the description for engineer, it said if you have engineer as an education ability that you have a basic understanding of the sciences. I don't know.
Okay.
how far that would elevate me above a layman, but
You're probably as good or better than anyone else in the group anyway. Mr. Black and his two goons definitely don't know shit about medicine. So you can look through Gandalf's medical supplies.
Yeah,
If he
I'll
lets you, anyway.
lay everything out for him.
Oh, yeah.
If he shows at least a slight competence and knowing what he's looking for,
He's got
make
bandaging paraphernalia. He's got stitches, needles, hypodermic needles. He's got a pretty good supply actually of morphine and antibiotics. Quite a bit of eye wash if it's any good anymore. You have no idea. Saline solution basically. It's been sitting in there for 13 years. What else would you have in there? Scissors, gauze. Yeah. All kinds of. He raided an ambulance, a military ambulance.
you know what though? Like, just looking at it and have him kind of lay it out before me, I'm thinking back to what I do know of medicine, and I'm thinking to myself, we might do more damage messing with the wound than if we just leave it.
There is a surgical saw, and there are no crutches. There were crutches in the ambulance, but they were too big and bulky to carry out. He was carrying bags full of morphine and drugs, so.
Let's just drug him up and make sure it's disinfected.
I'm with Switch on this one. We don't want to start messing around with it if we don't know what we're doing.
So you're going to undo the makeshift bandage on him? How do you want to go about this? Go ahead and describe it to me.
How's the bandage tied? Who put the bandage on?
And just remember, I'm not a doctor either, so if you want to just make up bullshit, that's fine too.
Switch and Wiretap are the ones who put the bandage on initially.
Did you at least?
There's some light gauze, and it was wrapped around and then tied on both ends.
Tied on both ends, okay.
Because it's a double wound.
So I'll see which end has the bandage on top where the tie is. I will untie it and then start to very carefully remove it from the leg. Slowly. It's not like tearing a band-aid off or something like that.
Yeah, it's still probably pretty sore.
Yup. And I'll ask Gandalf, do you have anything to disinfect? Alcohol would work even.
I'll hand him a half-empty bottle of vodka.
And again, you think of Red Star.
Yes, this was his. This belonged to a friend of mine.
I'll take it.
One thing you do notice as you're getting the bandage off, Andrew, is that they did a good job of bandaging it up to stop the bleeding, but they didn't wash it. And this is after you guys trekking and after he had crawled through the mud on the banks of the river. So it's kind of dirty, and you see dried blood and dried mud and everything on the inside of this bandage.
I'm going to, when I get it off then, the first thing I'm going to do, I do that visual inspection, I see that, and then I'm going to smell the wound. Because I remember from one of the only medical textbooks I ever read that if something becomes gangrenous, it starts to smell nutty.
No,
So,
you don't smell. You don't get that nutty smell that you know doesn't remind you of nuts anyway. It smells pretty sick. Blood and sweat, and mud, dirty water. And it doesn't look very healthy anyway, though. You can definitely see it looks like it's kind of blackening a bit around the wound.
Okay.
And you do notice there's an entrance and an exit wound.
What I'll do then, once again asking Gandalf, I need something we can wet and sterilize so I can kind of go in like a sponge so I can gently clean this off. I don't want to scrub it, but I need to remove some of this crap that's attached itself to the wound.
Sure, Gandalf will provide as much as he can from the packs and also elsewhere within the building.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll take the vodka first, and I'm going to. You know what? First, what I'll do is just dab the sponge in water, and then very lightly just touch it to try to get some of this crap off of it. And I'm going to do it on both sides of the wound.
That hurts like a motherfucker, Wiretap. I suppose you can't really scream, can he? Well, he could.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, his vocal cords still work.
Yeah,
he
he
just
can
can't
scream.
actually open his mouth. So I mean, you hear like like definitely some somewhat distressed, muffled moaning, but he grabs onto the table, and you just see him like fumble around in his pocket for that bottle of painkillers, and he manages to pop it open and get one out, and he just sort of shoves one through the little hole in his balaclava, and you just see him like knock his head back and swallow without any signs of chewing.
Is that how you drink too, Wiretap? Do you like drink through like a nozzle or something?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, he drinks everything with a straw, basically.
Okay, so seeing you pop the pill or whatever, and I'm guessing I'm kind of finishing up this part of the of the medical the medical treatment. I'm going to take the vodka and look down at the wound, look at the bottle, and then hand it to you as if I want you to take a swig.
Mr. Black appears over your shoulder and is looking down. He says, "See, I told you. That's infected."
Oh, Mr. Black, I'm glad you're here. I'll look back and roll my eyes.
Check his forehead. I bet you he's running a fever.
I'm going to disinfect the wounds now. Everybody stay back.
Please give him some bloody morphine before you.
Morphine? I have morphine?
Yeah, you get a lot of morphine. Switches over to saying, "Morphine! Give him
Oh.
morphine!"
That's a good idea. Pump him up.
I have been in this situation previously.
Yeah,
It did not end well.
you gave a lot of morphine to Red Star before you put him out of his misery.
Well, I will give this gentleman a little less.
Okay.
This is hilarious.
This is like a bunch of goons that have played the game Operation trying to perform surgery.
Okay.
It's not even surgery. You're just
Ali.
trying to clean and bandage a wound, man.
I will,
Yeah, no, I
will,
don't need the. I feel like I don't necessarily need the morphine at this point.
Surgery
I just took a painkiller, like.
is what Mr. Black is proposing.
So
Amputation is a surgery.
so I'll continue to like wave the bottle, motioning
Okay.
at him. Go ahead, take a swig before I do this.
And he'll at that point he'll look at it and he'll look around, and seeing that there isn't a straw, he'll just sort of shake his head. You see him like lift up the mask, and it's pretty gnarly. Like his jaw is pretty gnarly looking. Like it got fucked up pretty bad, and wasn't it like it shows obvious signs of not having been able to get appropriate medical care when the injury happened. But he sort of like manages to put it up to a portion where his lips are somewhat open, and takes a swig back, and a little bit like dribbles down his chin, and he like very quickly pulls the mask back down and sort of hands it to you. You do notice that his skin is sort of like towards the upper part of his lip was sort of an oddish, like almost looked like it had a green twinge to it, and you saw a couple lines like perhaps he actually has a tattoo on his face.
Or maybe he's an alien.
I'll avert my eyes out of respect. Like I don't want to look under it this way. Like if you want to show me your face, I'd look at it. But I respect the privacy of a man that wears a mask, so I look away. And when you have it back down, I look at you and I say, "You seem like a really nice guy. I'm sorry I got to do this." And I just dump the vodka upside down onto the wound.
Okay. Yeah, that burns like hell.
And I'll make sure to get the backside too, both sides of the wound, vodka.
Oh man, it's up to you, Wiretap, if you want to remain conscious or not. But
Yeah, no, he'll remain conscious, and he's definitely like you can tell that he's in pain, but he knows that like this is what has to happen. So like, anytime that the closer's like looking at him like are you okay? Like he's just like nodding his head, you know.
Is Switch standing nearby?
Definitely.
So I'll turn to Switch then after he stops flopping around. I'm sure there's some kind of violent reaction to the vodka touching the wound.
oh yeah,
And I'll ask Switch. We need to cover this back up with some clean bandaging. You seem to know what you're doing when it comes to tying. Do you want to help me?
Sure, you got any more cloth? Looking at Gandalf.
We. Gandalf reaches over, opens up another pack, rummages around, and look to yourself. There's more, plenty. Gauze, bandages, everything.
Okay, we'll take the gauze and we'll put it over them. We'll also wrap, because I'm guessing it's bandage tape, around the wound properly. Just a bit, not to put too much pressure on it, because otherwise you're going to cut off the blood circulation, which is really necessary for keeping it alive. I'm guessing, being a semi-professional, he's somewhat of an educated man. He would know at least that much. Probably wouldn't know much more, though.
sounds good. Yeah, he probably knows if you cut off the circulation, that eventually the,
I mean, it's common sense.
Yep. Until you get him bandaged back up. Black just shakes his head and it's like tisking in the corner.
There you go. Good as new.
Is that really what you Americans think of new?
Just almost sounding like he's kind of like panting, like to a certain extent, like heaving from the fact like all the pain that he just went through that's starting to like now subside as like the painkillers really sort of kick in that he took. He his breath kind of slows and he just looks at the closer and shakes his head. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, you've got him done up anyway. You've cleaned the wound and rebandaged it.
You sure you don't want morphine?
It would help with the
Morphine in
pain.
one hand, a
Yeah,
pistol in the
he'll
other.
he'll like point outside and then just sort of like go like that and like asking, do you really want him all loopy while you're walking around out there?
Mr. Black says you should probably save the morphine. That way you can put him out of his misery painlessly later when the infection spreads to his brain.
Monsieur Black, come downstairs and tell me more about this mission, if you would.
He's a real ray of sunshine. That's why they call him Mr. Black. Okay. So, you've got him patched up. You want to start to make your way west?
If I can, I'll try and make a crutch for him out of the wooden furniture downstairs. Just crack a couple of chair backs or something like that.
Yeah, you
Ties it
definitely have
together
you have
with
stuff
cable.
around.
Yeah.
And I have a thing with buildings. Like I used to work in demolition stuff. Not demolition, but like
Construction type
construction.
stuff. Yeah.
So I would help him try to split open something.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can definitely whip up a makeshift kind of crutch for him. No problem.
It's ready.
Okay. So yeah, there's not a whole lot more that he can tell you. He tells you the same thing he told the guys earlier about the rumors about this prophet. Supposedly he's gathered a large, colony of mutants and survivors.
Yeah.
Actually, he said he offers to show you the folder. Would you like to look at it? See the photos.
I would. Thank you.
Okay. You're looking through and you see a lot of pictures of this prophet. talking to people and sometimes addressing large crowds. And you flip through, and all of a sudden, like one of the pictures of him addressing the crowd, you flip past it, and then you stop, and you kind of pull it back again. And something caught your eye. You're not sure what. Something didn't look right. And you pull it back and look again, and you're looking at the crowd that he's sitting around talking. You can see some of the mutants. I mean, some of them are severely bent and misshapen, and some of them look like they're hairless and almost like they got deformed ears and folds in their skin. They look kind of goblin-esque, and others look like just normal people. And one of the more normal-looking people is an older woman dressed in an old, filthy dress, and it looks just like Julienne.
I'll just sit there and stare.
And he just keeps on talking about the prophet and this and that, not realizing that you stopped even. Hey, are you okay? Gandalf?
Sorry? This woman, she looks like my wife. Julianne.
The old broad there in the filthy dress?
After all this time. My Julianne. I'll pick the photograph up and hold it more to the light so I can get a better view of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you haven't seen her in 13 years, but you're looking at the filthy old dress, and it does look like the dress she was wearing on that day.
Oh, a tear. A tear wells up in his eyes, and he's sort of torn. He's torn between laughing and crying.
Black calls out, "Stone! Maybe you guys better get down here. The old man's having some kind of fit."
I'm coming! You hear boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's just sat there in a chair, looking at a photograph, blubbing, single tear down, falling down his cheek, towards the corner of his mouth through all the matted moustache and beard.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely not what I'm expecting to see when I come down with my gun pulled. I'll slowly start to put it.
Something about his wife, and he just started sobbing and shaking.
Yes, this is Julianne. Look, monsieur.
So I'll you hand it to me to look at.
Yeah, there she is.
So as I look at it, you hear a water phone, like the instrument they use in horror movies, starts playing in my head, and it just slowly starts panning in on her as I see how nasty and nappy and filthy this woman is, and my eyes just start to grow in size. Lovely woman.
Yeah, she is. You will see. Can I keep this, monsieur? Is she black?
Yeah, sure. If it means that much to you.
It does. There is hope.
Well,
we will go now. How is the man upstairs? Can he move?
can he move?
We must move fast. Well, as fast as we can. Gandalf rolls up the photograph and stuffs it in the inside pocket of his trench coat.
You guys have the crutch there that you've made.
Right, but I get this up to him, and I take it back upstairs.
Right.
Having been waiting upstairs for the rest of them, Wiretap will have taken the time to write out, if I'm going to slow you down too much, I can always stay here. And then whoever comes back up next, he'll, hand them the note.
Right. I guess that's Switch that comes up next, so.
And, he's sort of got his head down, and he just sort of hands him the note when he comes up to hand him the crutch.
I grab it, read it, shove the crutch into his chest, and then I pick up a shotgun and I shove it also into his chest. Just wield this and you'll be useful. If it does it, then I'll shove you so full of morphine, and then we'll use you as bait.
Nice.
and you can sort of see his eyebrows raised through the skin tight mask, and he does his best to pull himself off the table and get stable on this crutch, and slings the shotgun over his shoulder.
Pretty motivating, that. Don't want to be bait.
Exactly.
Okay.
Make sure to shove some morphine into my hopefully dry by now backpack.
So you guys start to make your way across the zone, heading to the west. And let's see, I'm going to say it's about a 3-day journey that it's going to take you to get to the location that this colony is meant to be at. However, given that we've run a bit long on the role play here tonight, I think I might take Chepe's advice from one of the comments you saw here and might turn this one into a 2-shot. Any objections to that?
No.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
None here.
Just given the late hour, it's 3 a.m. over here for me and Whitey. So I think we'll leave this one here at a little cliffhanger, as it were. Well, not really a cliffhanger, but yeah, to be continued as you set out to make your way across to the western hills.
A cliffhanger.
Yeah, hopefully we can get all 4 of you guys together again sometime soon to continue this. I'm going to be on holidays myself after a couple of days, so then I'll have all kinds of time to game. Okay, anybody want to say anything in an outro? Andrew, I'll go with you first.
Thanks for part 1 of the game. It was really fun. Love diceless games. Thanks to all the players. Check out the OSG. Check out the W3. Check out my blog, Lowshanks. Check out my YouTube channel, SR2 Joker.
Okay. Chepe.
Chepe Pepe, the channel's Fawn Trodden, RPG W3, One Shot Group, Clips Phase, Transhuman Conspiracy Facebook group. If there's a GURPS Facebook group, go to that. GURPS needs more love. Check out everyone. Check out Fantastic Dimensions if you haven't already. Also, if you want to see people die horribly, my most recent game on the channel does that in spades.
Yes, excellent. That's the Rowan Gate game, right? What was it titled?
It's entitled Into the Depths of North. And yes, it was a Rowan Gate game. If you want to see what happens when creatures actually use the terrain, that's what happens.
Happy days. Whitey.
Yeah, nothing more to add on the channels wise, but it was good to finally get in a game with Mr. Knapp and Mr. Chepe, and played with Josh before. It's I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and thanks Ian.
No problem, man.
I'll see you all next time.
Looking forward to continuing. I look forward to the reunion. Josh.
Yeah, check out the OSG, the W3, watch more gameplay and videos on Fantastic Dimensions because they're awesome. Check out Roll with the Punches, my YouTube channel, and thanks for the awesome game.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. And yeah, hopefully we'll get together and continue this very soon, I think. So, in the meantime, have a good evening.